superhero who's this radioactive hot dog and gets this crazy power to suck in all the fast food around the world, and it makes him into this Hulk-like huge character. And so what I mainly did, I did a lot of the inking and I did a whole splash page. I did 2 panels, so a lot of what I did was helping out with the illustration and coming up with the character design and all that kind of stuff. So, if you want to kind of say something about that you did with the group.
Excuse me, what?
Yeah, just say what maybe you did and a little bit.
Okay, my portion of this was basically to for my support. I tried not to totally persuade everything because, first of all, when the prompt was Superman today, I thought, hey, why don't you just make a character like Superman? And that's wrong. But I really liked Josiah's pitch idea, which was about to take on the problem of obesity. And I commend him because he did the entire first, maybe the second day over Google Hangouts, and it all worked. And he wasn't physically there, but he was, I could say, spiritually there, and he really helped our group out.
Yeah, for the first 2 days, Josiah was on a family vacation in Cabo, so the only way for him to participate in group activities was to phone in through Google Hangouts and actually be a part of this 21st century kind of learning experience, which he did an awesome job. He came through for his group. So.
I want to also mention, I don't think Josiah mentioned this, Josiah also laid out the cover, which I think you're phenomenal. I tried not to mess it up.
Jeremy and Isabella, do you want to go over your story?
So, Isabella and I, and Rachel, who's sitting in the audience, we worked on a story called On, which is a superhero who has the ability to travel into the internet and control computers and all electronics. And the way we came up with this was like, well, what kind of powers would be the most effective in this day and age in 2013 when we talked about how globalized the world is becoming because of the internet and how dependent on the internet and on technology we are. And so we thought that if the superhero were to be, first superhero were to be created today, he would have some sort of involvement with the internet since it's so all-consumingly important.
So he accidentally gets transported into the internet, and the first thing he comes across is this big old virus phone. Then as he explores the internet, finds the good things about the internet and the bad things as well.
And what did you guys do? What were your particular sections of the
Yes, I forgot about that. We all worked on brainstorming. The biggest contribution I did personally was I did pencils for all 5 of the pages, and I worked on inks for 2 of them.
Yeah, I designed the characters.
She also worked on the first page.
And also Rachel, who's in the audience in the front row. Want to raise your hand, Rachel? Rachel also helped with the inks.
Efren, and we're going to shamelessly plug Efren's debut comic book, Squids and Rainbows, that came out this weekend as well.
I conveniently have it in my pocket.
Well played.
He was ready for a plug. Efren's a full-time student at Little Fish Comic Book Studio and has been working on this webcomic called Squids and Rainbows for the past 8 months, 9 months, something like that. And it's awesome. So, and you only have what, 5 copies left? You sold out of your 50 copy run that you did?
I think we have around
Yeah, that's pretty good. So, Efren, what did your group work on? What was your story?
Well, our story is about a man who has the ability to project energy from his hands and eyes. It's about how he tries to stop these police officers from evicting an innocent family out of their own home in a corrupt part of Tijuana. And it's funny, actually, because we thought of this character, like this whole concept, based off of misunderstanding the instructions on the first day. I don't quite know what happened, but I think our beginning idea was something like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if Superman was a poor, mute, homeless guy who lived in a third world country? And then we realized that was way too bleak for this project, so we just narrowed it down to make it a little bit more like not as deep. And you know, when we decided to stick with I decided to stick with the third world country because last school year we went in my English class. We went over a lot of corruption that was happening in other countries like Iran, Korea, all these places, and it was insane what I heard. I mean, there was public beatings, hangings, and no one was stopping this. So I thought it would be interesting to make a character who actually could do something about it.
Cool. Well, that definitely brings us to our first question that I have for the panel, which was like, what's one thing you would have changed if you could go back to Monday and like start? Well, not that we have to do that because that sounds very tiring, but if we had to go back to Monday and start again, what's something that you would have changed about how you faced the challenge of creating this page? By the way, the constraints were it was 3 to 5 pages of comic book that they had to create, and they didn't do any colors. They had to do all hand lettering. So this is also using, I'll go through that a little bit. They had to use an Ames guide, which is like the old school style of like comic book lettering. There was no digital focus in the class except for the fact that we laid it out digitally for the printer. The students really focused on inking and penciling, especially with Klaus in town. Like that was really what we wanted them to like be working on with Klaus because he is one of the most renowned inkers and pencilers ever. So it was really important that they worked with him on that. Alonzo actually taught them a little bit about the lettering and layouts. I worked on them with script writing and thumbnails, which is what we kind of do for American Boom, our comic. So going back to that question, what's something you would have changed now that you're at the end of the project if you were starting back?
I actually understood the instructions the first time. I probably would not have made the story as deep as I was anticipating on making it, because I'm not used to working with deadlines as tight as this, so I thought, oh, I have all the time in the world. I thought I could just rip out a page like that. As it turns out, I barely made the deadline. So I would have made it, I would not have made it as deep.
How many, did anybody else feel similarly, like they might have scaled back on the quantity or something about their work? Had they gone back, or was the quantity pretty good?
Personally, I think the quantity was fine for our comic, but like, one thing I would have done was maybe change how we laid out the story and the pacing of it. I mean, maybe I would have taken out some of the parts that weren't completely necessary for the story. It might have made it easier to pace it.
What do you mean specifically?
Like, there are some scenes that aren't like incredibly necessary to the plot. There's a certain scene that's just like there for laughs, which is still like really funny, but it didn't have to be there. And if
Which one was it?
Where he gets chased around the internet by the young cat.
Oh, so it's like page 4 panels, like one. It's like the whole of page 4, right?
It's most of page 4. And if that hadn't been in there, then, and I'm glad it's in there, it's hilarious, but if it hadn't been in there, then maybe we would have had like better pacing and certain things in the comic that are kind of structured weird or paneled weird. It might have been easier to fix those.
Alonzo, what was some of your reflections at the end of the process?
More time. As a professional artist, always more time. I honestly though, I think I would have enjoyed a little bit more time just to see how these kids would have, kids, I don't mean to be condescending. How these students, really though, they did an amazing job for artists that are just learning a lot of these skills for the first time. They did an amazing job.